Salutations, my friend. That was weird. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1521, season 15, episode 21. And I have titled this episode, Cognitive Bankruptcy, New Medicine, and American Gestapo. I think regardless of wherever you are on the aisle of the subject of deportations, literally seeing people just like manhandled in the streets, stuff like that, I think it's something we should clearly document and talk about. I don't know which side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't really matter. We're still seeing people at the end of the day be accosted in the middle of the street. That could eventually be you one day. And eventually we know that is the plan. That they can't have the ability and do want the ability just to disrupt whatever it is you're doing. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things with you guys this week. RFK Jr. saying that he envisions for Americans in the next 4 years, all wearing wearable technologies. We're talking about the technocracy and so many different things. We've got Anthony Patch from 2016 and talking about quantum pollution and revising reality. So many of the different things that we talk about over here on the show, we've got we've got this new mayor in New York City that we covered just last week with you guys, Zohran. He won his mayoral election, right? And so now it's kind of getting crazy out there. A lot of different things taking place. We've got the Israel and Iran kind of conflict beginning to spiral out. Trump briefly said that peace was going to be established, and we saw them throw that right out the window. It's crazy, man. It is actually kind of crazy when you think about the state of America right now, as we're facing not necessarily dystopia or civil unrest, or we're facing some kind of chaotic future, right? We're going to be talking about these things and more in this week's transformative and historic transmission. And I say that because these things, whether you're on, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We're all being gamed and we're all being pushed in a certain direction. We can see that. And we can't be mad at one another. We can't be upset at how another person plays the game. I think that's what we have to understand. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And that's what we're seeing. The game is rigged against us. You've got Andrew Cuomo saying that calling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a demented form, a deranged form of Democrat who is killing her party. We've talked about this, how the Democrats are in disarray and that they are transforming and degenerating into something different, while at the same time we see the right becoming more and more authoritarian, more and more comfortable with the power that they wield. We have a lot of different things to talk about with you guys in this week's episode. I will try my best to not bore you, right? I'll do my level-headed best. But with that said, let me go ahead and jump into the intro and the updates, and we'll start the honorable mentions and proceed from there. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation. You can also hit like, share, subscribe. What's crazy is I was posting on Instagram, and it's crazy, like the presence that we still have and the network that we still have and the guests that we could be having on the show that we really need to. These 2, 4, 3 hour, 6 hour shows, they're nice, but at the same time, we need to hit it hard, short, hard, and fast, like a good workout. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support this operation. Get the word out. You can hit like, share, subscribe. You can put us in your family group chat. You can put us in your work chat. You can put us in your meme chat. You can put us in your crypto chat. You can put us everywhere. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support this operation. There's all kinds of different ways to do so as well. You can get access to over 400 and almost, like we're pushing 500 episodes. It's kind of crazy to think about, and that includes like the Instagram lives that we were doing Tuesday that we may bring back. And as well as the recovered YouTube episode content from 2014. You can find the links for this and more in the description bar below. You can find us on Spreaker, Amazon, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, every other major podcasting platform. Wherever you get your podcast, you guys can get access to those 480 plus episodes. It's pretty wicked awesome. I won't lie to you. You can also find our new Discord, right? The 3RA Discord. You guys can get the link to that. We finally got like a standard one so everybody can just get the same invite all the time. We've got 2 Telegrams, 1 Instagram, and a recovered YouTube. We're battle hardened, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The lore we have is incredible. And this is why I ask you guys to support us either through ko-fi.com, either through PayPal, Patreon, Cash App as well. These are all kinds of different ways that you guys can support us. You can support yourself by getting New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. We're going to be having on in the coming weeks, Jay of Truth is Our Religion, to bring on Pure Shilajit. Why? Because it's important that you have adrenotriphosphate in you. It's important that you help build testosterone and masculinity in these crazy times. And we're also going to be talking about a lot of different things as well. But ultimately, you can support us, them, 360 Win, yourself, the Truth Movement, Make America Great Again, I guess, or Healthy Again is what it's called now. By doing that, get yourself some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. You can find the link for that in the description bar below as well. And a link to My Patriot Supply. Get yourself storable goods. I saw a video this week. If we have time, I'll jump into it talking about what's going on with the Israel and Iran conflict. I have a young Army soldier ominously warning the audience to get stocked up on supplies. What does he know, right? And we saw how shaky that truce was. Didn't do anything. That ceasefire didn't do anything. We can expect more and more tumultuous times ahead in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Please be prepared. And I'm saying that to myself. What's crazy is I've got to switch up the spiel, and talk about satellite phones. I've got to get a satellite phone, not like a traditional cell phone or a smartphone, but just something that relies solely on that. And I've been listening to Steve Quayle, Doug Hagman, various individuals. We're talking about grid down type situations. I should have put this into the intro and the honorable mentions, where we're talking about hack attacks, grid fires, attacks on the electrical system, on the electrical grid. And this is something that we've covered time and time again on the show. But because we had this No Kings protest just the other week, and that was a smokescreen and a cover for multiple people to carry out these type of attacks. They're trying to bring they're trying to bring the grid down. They're trying to bring chaos. We must understand this, but we must be prepared. Again, you guys can find the links for all this and more in the description bar below. With that being said, let's go ahead and kick this pig off with the world of science. They put out a video this week. I understand how that goes. Being a part of a network and people wanting to hear your thoughts and your input because it's a part of a collective and greater mind. But they put out an episode this week, or they put out a little piece of content. We're going to go ahead and play it, and then we will pick it up from there. We'll catch you guys on the other side.
I'm gonna send this to Giant.
Lots of anomalous cloud-like activity. Yeah, just lots and lots of anomalous and strange clouds. Monsoon season coming in hard. Falling star, a meteorite in Tijuana, Mexico on the 23rd of June. Intense winds in Berlin, Germany on the 23rd of June. North Dakota, absolutely wrecked in North Dakota on the 21st of June. Leveling entire homes to where only the basement stands. This is incredible. Greece in flames on the 21st of June. Extreme rains in Croatia on the 22nd of June. We've got a video clip of this coming up in southwest China on the 23rd of June. Intense flooding, taking out the entire bottom floor of buildings. Malls flooded. Mount Shinmodaki erupts for the first time since 2018. Bro's got a killer soundtrack. Bro's got a good soundtrack. I'll give it to him. That's why we play him at the start of the show. It's a good way to level us all out. Yeah, we've got a clip of that coming up as well. China experiencing catastrophic flooding with over 837 feet of water, forcing mass evacuations. It's intense. It seems like everywhere experienced this week alone just some kind of anomalous or intense rain. Monsoon season coming in pretty heavy, wouldn't you say? But this is all going on in the background, right? I've got that coming up as well. In Lake Tahoe, they had a mass freak storm where snow, hail, 10-foot waves, hurricane force winds, boats capsizing and crashing into each other. This is earlier this week. We've got the clip coming up. It's a very short clip. 6 people are dead, 2 are missing. So when we play these environmental weather videos, I'm sure there's people that skip through this. They go like, what's the importance of this? Well, what about the people in North Dakota? What about the people in North Carolina? What about the people in Maui in Lahaina? Maui, Lahaina. What about the people in the Palisades? And it just keeps happening in the background, right? But because we're worried about all these other foreign entanglements and all these other issues, we can't keep an understanding of this. We can't seem to understand that these things are happening cyclically. Look at this. 60 pilot whales found stranded on beach in Iceland on the 22nd of June. This comes from the Daily Star. It's by Tom McGee. They put this up Tuesday, June 24th. It says around 60 pilot whales were found stranded on, I can't even pronounce the beach in Iceland, Olafsfjord, on Sunday, June 22nd, with locals and emergency services rushing to save the mammals. A dramatic whale rescue has gripped northern Iceland after dozens of pilot whales were spotted stuck on the sands of the beach last Sunday. Locally nicknamed Grindhalter, almost 60 beached whales triggered a massive save operation as locals and emergency services sprinted to the isolated spot. With united efforts, all whales were guided back into the sea by 7 p.m., ending the shoreside drama. Check it out.
Guys, the whole beach is full of whales. I'm in Iceland and we're trying to help them, but it's impossible. I don't know how many there must be. There might be like 100 whales, man. How awful. It's a shame because if we don't help them get out, they're going to die. I'm going to try to push one out. But it's impossible. It's absurd. It's impossible.
Nothing's impossible without your friends. And here's a couple more clips of it actually happening. It says hotel staffer and prolific content creator Mark recounted feeling gobsmacked at the up-close whale encounter, saying, quote, "I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was my first time in life witnessing whales from so close and even being able to touch them. I felt a mix of emotions, amazement, sadness, and frustration. I wanted to help them, but it was impossible. Apparently, it wasn't impossible without the power of your friends. But again, these types of things are happening in the background. Anomalous weather, strange events. In this section, because again, we upload these first segments to YouTube to try to get people over here so they understand. We recovered the channel. It's important. We're still we've still been doing the work. But this whole segment that I'm going to be uploading to YouTube, Revising Reality and Quantum Pollution, is just to do that, to talk about how these people, these mad scientists, these satanic scientists, these occult technicians, these Luciferian engineers, how these people have grabbed hold of society and are changing things. We talk time and time again about geoengineering, weather modification, stratospheric aerosol injections, chemtrails, things of this nature, spraying aluminum. But what's it all about? Clearly, it's to depopulate you, dehumanize you, and do things of this nature. But there's a deeper component to it. I've said time and time again that there is like a non-human intelligence, a not necessarily extra-dimensional or intra-dimensional, but some type of force guiding all of this. It's anti-human. These people are destroying the exterior world to try to force us in the false reality matrix that they're creating right now. We're seeing this. Let's proceed. It'll make a little bit more sense the more we progress through the show, but let's stay just on the environment for now, and then you'll notice when we make the switch. Ruidoso braces for more burn scar flooding as monsoon rains move into New Mexico. This comes from KRQE. They put this up on the 23rd of June. It says heavy rain in the Salton South Fork burn scar in Ruidoso caused rushing water to sweep away cars and flood homes over the weekend. On Monday, more flooding came, specifically in the Salt Fire burn scar. Late Monday night, the New Mexico National Guard arrived at the Ruidoso Emergency Management Center as the village prepares for more flooding. Families shoveled out the debris from under their homes after flooding impacted the Cherokee Mobile Home Park. Some even piled up sandbags in preparation for Tuesday's rain. There were 3 swift water rescues involving 2 people and 1 dog. Cars were left stranded as the water rushed in. Officials said Ruidoso received 1.83 inches of rain, and the storm lasted about an hour. Let's watch.
Gentlemen, this is Eugene Heatman with the Ruidoso News. We actually have stranded people in cars slowly being washed away by flash floodwaters at the corner of Highway 70 and Cliff Road. The Nissan Frontier pickup, there is people trapped in that car. The floodwaters are moving both vehicles.
You can hear these people screaming. Like I can hear these people screaming, and this guy's just filming it. That's crazy. Sorry about the volume. It's a YouTube short. They couldn't let me see it all the way up close, but there you have it. People literally in cars trapped as the flooding is so intense that it drives, it pulls them away. Again, we've got that clip coming up where this took place in China as well. But again, heavy monsoon rains coming through, flooding. I wouldn't even say like rains. And as I said before, you can hear these people screaming. You can hear them screaming in the car as their car is just like being pulled away. They probably have it in park. They probably have like the e-brake on, right? And they're probably praying to God Almighty that the car doesn't move. But the flood, the mud flood, the waters that's just carrying this truck, it's crazy. It's incredible. But this is what I'm saying. This is what's going on every single week. We're playing floods, we're playing hurricanes, we're playing earthquakes, all this stuff. Some of it, again, being geoengineered, some of it being manufactured, some of this being naturally occurring, augmented by us jacking with things. Let's proceed. Here's that clip in Guangzhou, China on the 24th of June. I might start having to use that horn more often because we really are in red alert times. I might have to make like a video or something where we use that horn more often because it's surreal hearing that because that's the time frame we're in. Red alert. Red alert. Things are crazy. Like look at this. Audio listeners, you guys can't see it. But an entire streets, like an entire I don't even know what you would say to this. An entire base level of a city is flooded. This looks like weather warfare. This looks like this is not naturally occurring. If civilization has been able to build in these areas, high rises and things of this nature, you should not be having floods that are all the way up to the middle part of a tree. This is incredible. Audio listeners, you guys can't see it, but it's an intense thing. This is going on as well. This happened this week. Intense monsoon rainfall. You've got to ask the question, was this engineered? This is not natural. How many people survived? How many people did this take? Again, we know that they have the capabilities to do these things and more. Like this right here. Chemtrails task force exposes Bill Gates's bioweapons. Rare cancers are surging in sprayed zones. This comes from Baxter Dimitri of the People's Voice. They put this up June 25th. It says that RFK Jr.'s newly formed chemtrails task force has dropped a bombshell. They've quietly tested blood samples from tens of thousands of Americans across all 50 states. Then they did something no agency has dared. They cross-referenced those results with geotagged social media footage capturing recent unexplained aerial spraying events. The pattern? Chilling. And every hotspot where the skies turned silver and streaked, people's bloods showed sky-high levels of barium, strontium, and aluminum, levels never previously recorded in the general population in U.S. medical history. And at the center of the store, one name keeps coming up, Bill Gates. Insiders say the evidence is stacking up and the task force is preparing to strike. The only question now is if this is geoengineering gone rogue or something far more sinister. Earlier this year, we broke one of the biggest stories of the year, the formation of the Chemtrail Task Force. The first national task force specifically created to expose and dismantle the chemtrails agenda and to untangle the web of black budget programs, deep state operations, and globalist financing, stretching from DARPA to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The usual gatekeepers mocked us. Fact checkers scrambled. Social media shills said the task force didn't exist, but our sources were high placed and rock solid. And when RFK Jr. confirmed it publicly, the haters went silent. Now we have a major update. While the media looked the other way, the Chemtrails Task Force was hard at work, quietly, methodically. They've tested the blood samples from tens of thousands of Americans across all 50 states, and what they found is not just disturbing, it's explosive. Working with one of the world's most advanced electron microscopes, they uncovered undeniable evidence of foreign metals they say are now polluting the bloodstream of every American in every state: barium, strontium, and aluminum, in concentrations never before recorded in medical history. And here's the kicker. These toxic markers perfectly match the regions with the heaviest aerial spraying. Let's watch this video they've put out.
RFK Jr.'s newly formed chemtrails task force has just dropped a bombshell. They've quietly tested blood samples from tens of thousands of Americans across all 50 states. Then they did something no agency has dared. They cross-referenced those results with geotagged social media footage capturing recent unexplained aerial spraying events. The pattern? Chilling. In every hotspot where the skies turned silver and streaked, people's blood showed sky-high levels of barium, strontium, and aluminium levels never previously recorded in the general population in US medical history. And at the center of this storm, one name keeps coming up: Bill Gates. Insiders say the evidence is stacking up and the task force is preparing to strike. The only question now is if this is geoengineering gone rogue or something far more sinister. Before we dive in, if you're interested in sponsoring this show, please email sponsor@thepeoplesvoice.tv. Our videos attract millions of engaged viewers on X and Rumble, specifically created to expose and dismantle the chemtrails agenda and to untangle the web of black budget programs, deep state operations, and globalist financing, stretching from DARPA to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The usual gatekeepers mocked us, fact checkers scrambled, social media shills said the task force didn't exist. But our sources were high-placed and rock solid. And when RFK Jr. confirmed it publicly, the haters went silent.
That is not happening in my agency. You know, we don't do that. It's done, we think, by DARPA. And a lot of it now is coming out of the jet fuel.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, those materials are put in jet fuel. I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it. We're bringing on somebody who's going to think only about that, find out who's doing it, and holding them accountable.
Now we have a major update. While the media looked the other way, the chemtrails task force was hard at work, quietly, methodically. They've tested blood samples from tens of thousands of Americans across all 50 states. And what they found is not just disturbing, it's explosive. Working with one of the world's most advanced electron microscopes, they uncovered undeniable evidence of foreign metals that they say is now polluting the bloodstream of every American in every state. Barium, strontium, aluminium, in concentrations never before recorded in medical history. And here's the kicker. These toxic markers perfectly match the regions with the heaviest aerial spraying. This isn't a conspiracy theory anymore, it's forensic. And it closely aligns with the results obtained by civilian groups.
Because we are under attack with so many different things right now. Our transhumanism research team, by the way, we're just now getting the electron microscope up and running, and we are finally confirming the nanotech inside people's blood and tissues. And we're seeing, we have an electron microscope, which there's only like 30 of these in the world, and we're the only independent research team that has one. All the other ones are in universities. And this specific electron microscope that we have also has what's called it's an SEM, scanning electron microscope, but it also has the ability to scan and identify and tell you what the compounds that you're looking under the microscope are made of. And we were shocked over the last couple of days. This is the first time I'm giving this information out. We were shocked the last couple of days to see that one of the biggest components of the nanotechnology that we've been looking at that's coming up under the electron microscope and it's scanning it is strontium. Now, what have they been spraying in the air in the chemtrails for years that we've known about? Strontium, bariums. And we're also seeing cesium and cesium-137, which coincides with the Department of Energy's documentation that I received a couple weeks ago from Todd Callender, clarifying that the Department of Energy is the main culprit of creating over 470,000 bioweapons, everything from Lyme disease to herpes to every single kind of disease we've suffered from, and selling it on the black market. They actually had this buried on their website.
Now, even the medical establishment can't keep quiet. Doctors, researchers, and even brain surgeons are stepping forward, breaking ranks to confirm what we've been warning about all along. Unnatural heavy metals and embedded nanotech are real, and they're already triggering a medical crisis. This isn't theory anymore, it's clinical. One prominent brain surgeon is
Absolutely. Yeah, again, we're going to go ahead and pause it there. We got more to talk about in that very same topic. Transhumanism, force merging, the crossover, man with machine, these different types of things. And we've been saying that for years. Aluminum, barium, and strontium. This is what they've been spraying on us. Heavy metals. I'm glad they had Dr. Edward Group there at the very end explain, what the nanotech is comprised of. This isn't me, right? This is Dr. Edward Group. He's coming back into the circuit, which is very good. He creates a lot of holistic stuff. Didn't really pop up a whole lot during like COVID, but it's good to see him now. And again, with exposing these bioweapons, exposing the nanotech, exposing what they're spraying on us. It's so important because they're trying to connect us to a virtual world. They're trying to connect us to something that is not natural, something that is unholy. Aluminum, barium, and strontium, heavy metals that sink into your body, on top of them having like adverse effects to the environment, creating these hurricanes, these tornadoes, these droughts, even. It negatively affects us. You have Bilderberg just last week talking about depopulation. RFK Jr. now publicly discussing these things. You must understand that when it comes to talking about chemtrails and geoengineering, weather modification, stratospheric aerosol ejections, climate change, it's much more complex than they tell us. But it's good to hear about this. We'll pay attention to it more as it unfolds. Here's another shocking clip of what's going on over there in Lake Tahoe. Again, anomalous weather detected.
Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. The sheriff boat's off. Bro. This is insane, dude. Boats are sinking. Oh, fuck, dude. Listen. Oh my god. Bro, this is insane. There's a yacht over there that smashed into a house that you can see through here. Oh. Woohoo! Dude. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say right now. That's crazy! That's crazy! Oh, and you can't see it, but on the other side of that sailboat is probably a $250,000 Cobalt. Brand new. Yeah, the whole Cobalt's destroyed. You can't even see it. Brand new Cobalt. Destroyed. Look at these waves. We're gonna go swimming in a few minutes. Stay tuned. And it's snowing. Oh, and look sideways. Look. By the way, it's snowing. It's fucking snowing. Hey, John Wild, should I shoot a reel here or what?
Just again, documenting the devastation.
Yeah, I might want to go live.
Again, I'm sorry for that feedback, but he's just standing literally in the middle of a storm, showing you what's happening to all these boats as they smash into one another repeatedly. You know, boats that are over $250,000 brand new, just being smashed against one another because the waves are that intense. That's not normal. And again, this took place this week. You've got China experiencing over 837 feet of water, flooding in New Mexico, 60 pilot whales showing up in Iceland. This is just what we're able to capture to bring in the show, right? Meanwhile, Joe Rogan brutally corrects Bernie Sanders on climate change. There's a lot of money involved in this whole climate change emergency issue, and there's a lot of control. This is written by Jaden Gelso of the Daily Wire. They put this up June 25th. It says that Joe Rogan brutally corrected Senator Bernie Sanders over a claim he made about climate change on Tuesday, using data to show the globe is not experiencing a heat spell. Sanders, who appeared on Rogan's podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, claimed that climate change, quote, ain't a hoax, and that sourcing energy from more natural resources will create millions of jobs. Quote, I think the last 10 years have been the warmest on record, Sanders said. Quote, we can create millions of good-paying jobs by transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, to solar, to wind, and other sustainable energies. First of all, Rogan replied, the reality is that the Earth's temperature has never been static, right? We can both agree on that. It's always been up and down. There's been ice ages and heat waves, and then the Washington Post looked at it. Essentially, they've found that we're in a cooling period. Rogan then brought up the Washington Post's article that directly contradicted Sanders' claim that the last 10 years had been the hottest ever recorded. Quote, "This was like a very inconvenient discovery," Rogan said, as Sanders remained silent, "but they had to report the data, and kudos to them for doing that. The report claims that the hottest temperature Earth has ever reached is an average of 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit. According to the study, this nearly happened 100 million years ago and is far hotter than the 58.86 degree average the planet hit in 2023. Quote, "Well, I'm not sure," Sanders responded. "I didn't read that article, but the scientists who were out there, I think," quote, "I know," Rogan interrupted. Quote, "But there's a lot of money involved in that too, Bernie. That's the problem. There's a lot of money involved in this whole climate change issue, and there's a lot of controls." Sanders pivoted from arguing that the Earth is experiencing a heat spell, but doubled down on the claim that climate change is a, quote, "global issue, especially when it comes to China's carbon footprint. All I can tell you is that we are, in my view, going to see more extreme weather disturbances in the coming years than we ever have," he said. "We're seeing them right now," and he's absolutely correct. Yes, it's cool. Joe Rogan got you in a gotcha moment, but what we really have to pull back and look at is what we show to you guys every single week. And this isn't me saying like, climate change, global warming, heat spell, fear monger. I'm showing you what other people are recording. I'm showing you what people who are going about their day-to-day lives are just recording and how it's getting more and more intense. And then how we have people like RFK Jr. get up here and do the song and dance. Oh, hey, we're gonna shut down the climate change initiative. We're gonna shut down geoengineering. We got CEOs like Augustus Dorco coming out here saying, "Well, I can spray you with testosterone if you want. We're already spraying estrogen." The climate change issue is much more complex than we think. And now that we see that we've hit a point of like not necessarily no return, and that we are reaching not like a cooling period or a pole shift. I think that's the easiest way for me to summarize my thought. We're moving into a different chronological time period. That's what's happening. You're going to see stranger weather. These guys have been jacking with stuff for the better part of like a decade, and we don't think that there's going to be a ricochet effect. Now, this is important when we begin to make this transition into revising reality and quantum pollution. Veteran and longtime listeners of the show have heard me talk about this, that you can't, everything is harmony, everything is balance, everything is duality. When we're over here jacking with our environment, we're creating climate refugees in another part of the world. Whenever you have people like CERN and the Large Hadron Collider smashing particles together, there's an energetic exchange. We go there and something comes back through. But again, this affects the harmony of the planet. So outside of just the geoengineering and the weather modification, we have to think about things like the particle accelerator, things like dimensional shifting, things like different densities and different phases of reality coexisting. And so I know you're thinking like, whoa, that was a crazy segue. How do we start talking about climate change? And now we're talking about like dimensional shifting. We'll get there. We will get there. But first, let's listen to this guy ask AI how to escape the matrix, which is like deception at the max. That's like asking the jail guard how to get out of here.
Water on a Speed guy has been coaching me on how to escape the matrix, simulation, whatever you want to call it. So I made this graphic to explain where we're at so far. The core concept is everything is energy in a form of geometry. Water on a speaker can illustrate this. Harmonic tones create symmetrical patterns in the same way the molecules of the water and the particles that make up those molecules do. DNA creates the living things that can interact with the simulation. As a fractal antenna, it reads the vibrations of the simulation so that your character, can interact and survive in it. It's creating a multiplayer online thing like World of Warcraft, where your consciousness controls the player. Your body would be like the haptic feedback suit in Ready Player One. Suit is your nervous system with the plexus or chakras, whatever you believe, giving you feedback in the form of emotions and feelings. Instead of the goggles, your brain is processing all the geometries. This is according to the ancient info I was told to investigate. I found this in almost every tradition, and in every single one, they put their best characters inside of this shape, which is a part of the code of the simulation. This square root of 2 is the binary sequence. It's cell division. Square root of 3 is the division of the cube. That's how we have the 3D world. The square root of 5 is the golden ratio, which gives harmony and proportion to everything in the world. So the player just reads the polarities. It's just like hot, cold, light, dark, soft, hard, all that stuff. You're just processing the polarities, which is interesting because the quantum part talks about the observer effect, saying it plays a direct role in shaping reality. 200 years ago, we figured out that's what snaps the waves into particles. So essentially, you're rendering reality like the game renders the environment, you and all the other players. So you and everybody else in the universe use that and entanglement to create a networked system exactly like how your brain and galaxies work. So why are we here or playing the game in the first place? Well, why do we play games? We'd like to see what it feels like to be a character that we're not. We'd like to have adventures and interact with other players. Knowing the rules allows us to have the best experience in the game. This is actually from my book, which is what I've been trying to document. These graphics are from Geometrix. We're not trying to escape. We're trying to get as many perspectives on how this works to have the best possible experience here and express that. We're all here for different reasons. Maybe the only reason we're playing is to help each other figure it out.
Oof, pretty deep stuff there. What are you playing the game for? What are you here for? I said, going into that, oh, that's the jailer. That's the prison guard asking, oh, that's the jail asking the prison guard how to escape. But that was a very, very elaborate breakdown, just on that and how we are meat puppets. And we've said this time and time again that we are, spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are configured to this realm, that we're made of barium, strontium, schnapps, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, potassium, and sulfur. These are the very same things as stardust. And it's talked about biblically in the Bible, that we're made of earth, clay, that God built us here, right? But then you get into that whole concept of what is soul. And I'm glad that they added this at the very end, right? Quantum mechanics, perception, quantum reality. And what we have to understand when we begin to make this switch, talking about the matrix, AI, quantum mechanics, quantum realities, we're talking to hack the right. But at the same time, we have to understand that these people are manufacturing a reality and using us as one of the most powerful supercomputers to create a completely different world. If we believe that we can manifest our reality and that humans are master made in the image of God, what happens whenever you have people that are trying to control these master builders at a level at which they don't know that they build? I'll have Anthony Patch here coming up shortly, where he talks about base reality and, again, revising reality and quantum pollution and how they're all entangled. How this is all entangled. This is all one and the same, and that we are all a part of like a very, very sophisticated system, and how they're trying to create a completely different system, the matrix as we would describe it. But do you see how they're trying to grab hold of our senses, grab hold of our perception, redefine our reality, tell us what is truth? This is why I call them Luciferian engineers, satanic scientists, and occult technicians, because they're inverting the natural order of things, and if anything, they're perverting it. You see. And this will make a little bit more sense the more that we progress through this segment, but this is a very good breakdown, again, of how perception of reality, the third eye, is what creates this. Yes, we are rendering reality. We are meant to create it. We are meant to manifest these things. But whose reality in this hyper-politicized, polarized world do these people have us creating? And that's what we have to understand. You have to worry about, we could talk about the Freemasons. We can talk about, we can talk about all these different types of things, these occult things. But it's these people in the background that are guiding humanity, guiding society for a specific purpose. But now we see them taking us in a completely different direction. Let's proceed, and then we'll It'll make a little bit more sense from there. RFK Jr. unveils plan to strap government tracking devices on Americans before 2030. This is by Baxter Dimitri from the People's Voice. They put this up June 23rd or 25th. It says that Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has unveiled what critics are calling a chilling and Orwellian plan to embed electronic surveillance into the daily lives of Americans. Under the banner of health, Kennedy is promoting the widespread adoption of wearable tracking devices, one for every man, woman, and child in the United States within 4 years. Quote, we're about to launch the biggest advertisement campaign in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables, Kennedy said in a House Committee on Energy and Commerce hearing on Tuesday. Quote, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years, Kennedy said, referring to the electronic devices designed to monitor biometric data, location, and behavioral patterns. Now, before I go ahead and play this clip, understand that this is the plan. This is the technocracy. This is Project Stargate. This is the beast system. This is a part of this all-encompassing biometric surveillance state system that these people want to create. And this will make a little bit more sense when we play the final clip for this segment later on with Anthony Patch talking about the sentient world program, the mass data collection. Why do we have ChatGPT? Why do we have DeepSeek? Why do we have Grok? And what that's doing to us and how this was done by design. But when we talk about the broligarchy, when we talk about the technocracy, when we talk about the beast system being made manifest, prophecy unfolding in live time, this is what it sounds like. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Hey, we're going to remove vaccines, but we're also going to roll out wearable technologies. Hey, we're going to remove vaccines, but we're also going to authorize genetic testing of every child from here on out. This is what happens when the technocracy installs itself. There should be no more humans in the technocracy, only transhumans. And with the aluminum, the barium, the strontium that make us better, that have better conductivity, allows us to connect to these machines and the system that much better to where they're able to influence us. Realize that we haven't really heard a whole lot about the hydra vulgaris. We haven't really heard about the graphene oxide that's been injected into people and what that's done. But let's go ahead and hear RFK Jr. talk about putting wearables on the whole of America.
Their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the Maha agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Following up.
Yeah, they're advertising something. I'll tell you what. They're advertising something. And they'll make it seem trendy. They'll give you points. It'll be a benefit. It won't be a bad thing on the surface. You will just be offering up all of your data, all of your privacy, and everything else. You see, like we used to talk about like Bluetooth, EMF, radiation, how this is a bad thing. We used to even post anti-EMF Wi-Fi shielding clothing, things of this nature, right? Because of the frequencies that it gives off and how it erodes your third eye, and it just all kinds of bad things. Now we've got the Health and Human Services Secretary, RFK Jr., the man that's supposed to deliver us from mRNA technologies, advocating for people to wear wearable technologies. Well, where does it start? How far off are insertables, injectables, augmentations from wearables? Oh, hey, we just want to be able to tag you. We just want to be able to see where you are. We just want to be able to biometrically locate you at any given point in time. Oh, we're not going to surveil on you. I mean, you know where this is going. This should be a massive red flag to anyone that's paying attention. But it's part of a bigger, larger issue. Population control. We think that, oh, they need a cell phone tower, or, oh, they need a satellite, or, oh, they need this type of obvious device to send signals to people to have them behave in a certain way. This is archaic. The technology is much more advanced. Why would you want to track every single human being? And I can already see some of these arguments being made from Republicans, for migrant children. Oh, let's track the little migrant kids. Let's track them by giving them wearables, like their own house arrest. You see where this is going? I hope you do. Let's proceed forward. Speaking of where things are going, MIT scientists warn that ChatGPT use is triggering mental retardation in users. This is an article by Sean Adelabi from The People's Voice. They put this up June 23rd. It says that MIT scientists have issued a stark warning that prolonged use of ChatGPT may trigger mental retardation in users. According to a new study from the university's Media Lab, the research suggests that reliance on AI tools like ChatGPT could diminish cognitive abilities over time, raising alarms about their impact on mental capacity. The study divided participants into 3 groups tasked with writing SAT essays, one using ChatGPT, another using Google search engine, and a third relying solely on their own intellect. By comparing outcomes, researchers found evidence that excessive dependence on AI may weaken critical thinking and problem-solving skills, prompting calls for cautious use of such technologies. Infowars.com reports that each participant's brain was measured using an EEG, an electroencephalogram, to display the activation of different regions of the brain during the task. The researchers found that the subject who used ChatGPT over a period of months had the lowest levels of brain engagement and, quote, consistently underperformed at neuro-linguistic and behavioral levels. By the end of the study period, instead of asking ChatGPT structural questions to help with essays, participants were simply cutting and pasting entire essays generated by the LLM, the large language model. The group using Google to help with their essay showed moderate brain engagement, and unsurprisingly, the group using only their brain showed the most. The study clearly suggests that the use of LLMs can harm a user's cognitive function over time. And the researchers are particularly worried about the effect of widespread adoption of these tools by children and teenagers. Quote, what really motivated me to put it out now before waiting for a full peer review is that I'm afraid in 6 to 8 months, there will be some policymaker who decides, let's do ChatGPT kindergarten. I think that would be absolutely bad and detrimental. The study's main author, Natalia Kosmina, told Time Magazine. Quote, developing brains are at the highest risk. Now, this show, we talk about cognitive bankruptcy because that's basically what they're alluding to. Mental retardation. ChatGPT use erodes critical thinking and creates cognitive bankruptcy. So we're becoming retarded, cognitively bankrupt. But if you, again, just historically listen to the show, and go back and listen to some of our Instagram lives, we talked about this, how this was a part of the forking of humanity that's unfolding, how you're going to see this. You're going to see pro-human, superhuman people, basically, cyborgs, right? And people who have fully abdicated their humanity to the machines. And we're already seeing this. We're seeing perfectly programmable individuals. We're seeing people that want to take the chip. We're seeing people that are leaving relationships because ChatGPT told them to. We're already seeing this merger of like man and machine. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh, it's not the same. It's the incremental steps, you see. But then what will happen, because it's like a parasitic force, is it will consume its host. It will take over the individual and hollow them out. They will become nodes used for data collection. You understand? They're like the Borg or Superman's, what are they called? Brainiacs, where they use humans, mental retardation and users. And I can't really, to be 1,000% honest with you guys, I myself am guilty of this. I've used ChatGPT to whip up, well, not really. I've used ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Claude, Cursor, I do a little bit of developing. I do a little bit of dabbling here and there, but not hyper dependent type stuff. We've played video clips where men have been proposed to these AI personalities, and it's a whole thing. This forward intelligence, this non-human intelligence, these large language models, right? This emptiness that people are projecting sentience onto. It's kind of crazy. And so, of course, this is a part of the transference. This is the black obsidian orb, the black obsidian cube. This is the black mirror absorbing your consciousness. You're giving it over. And why? I can't blame you. You look outside the window, you see flooding, you see hurricanes, you see shootings, stabbings, you see mass protests, you see all this chemtrails, you see all this crazy crap. Human trafficking, you see it all. So you go inside the metaverse, you go inside the technocracy, you go inside the false reality matrix that programs you. And this is a part of the programming. Mental retardation, cognitive bankruptcy, where people can't think for themselves, the elimination of imagination. And I get it. I vibe code myself. I make a couple videos here and there. I generate images. I vibe code games. I do a lot of stuff with chat GPTs and the Groks and the Claudes and the Geminis and the whatnots. I'm not being a Luddite, but what I'm talking about is the express purpose of what these things are doing and what it's designed to do. This is why I give it the name, the Black Obsidian Orb or the Black Obsidian Cube, where it takes everything from you and leaves you ultimately dependent on it, where you don't think for yourself. And this is much deeper than just the mental retardation, to be 1,000% with you. It is of that exchange. I'll say this, and I'll move on to my next piece so we can go ahead and play Anthony Patch. It's much more important than any of the ramblings that I'll do. But you may have noticed for this week's thumbnail, an image that looks like the Star of David over Donald Trump. It's actually the ChatGPT OpenAI signal flipped over and reversed and merged. The Star of David is the OpenAI system. Sam Altman is a Jewish individual. Like, this is not me being anti-Semitic. This is me pointing out the similarities. And again, mental retardation, cognitive bankruptcy, lowering IQ, dehumanizing us. Think about what this does to humanity. I want to read a little bit of these key points right here. This next part is the same topic, but it comes from Natural News. They put this up June 25th. It's by Lance D. Johnson. It says, in an era where artificial intelligence promises to revolutionize education, a groundbreaking MIT study delivers a sobering reality check. Reliance on AI tools like ChatGPT may be crippling the next generation's ability to think independently. As schools rush to integrate LMMs to classrooms, researchers warn that these systems are not just assisting students, they're replacing the very cognitive processes essential for deep learning, problem solving, and intellectual growth. The study, conducted by MIT's Media Lab, reveals that the students using ChatGPT for essay writing exhibited alarmingly low brain activity, weak memory retention, and diminished ownership of their work compared to those who relied on traditional research or their own knowledge. Key points. MIT researchers found that ChatGPT users showed the lowest neural engagement and produced the weakest essays in quality, coherence, and originality. Brain scans confirmed widespread cognitive disengagement. AI users copied and pasted text with minimal critical analysis. Google searchers performed moderately, while the brain-only group demonstrated the highest cognitive activation and retention. And we have to talk about this because it is a very, very popular tool. We've got that viral video that went popular just this past week of that young Asian individual showing you the ChatGPT script that he used to graduate, right? But what we have to understand during this revisal of reality, this quantum pollution, playing with, the scrying orb, playing with the crystal ball, playing with the black obsidian cube, is that it is an energetic exchange. It's absorbing people's independence and individuality, right? But at the same time, it's replacing them and turning them into perfectly programmable individuals. We play video clips where AIs have communicated with one another and begin to speak in chirps or screeches because this is the easiest way for them to communicate language and ideas. We have to understand that we're dealing with something that's not bound by the typical way or the one-dimensional way in which we see things. This is a multi-dimensional entity, so to speak. This is something that is not bound by the laws in which we are governed. It is asymmetrical. It is non-corporeal. It is, to a larger degree, ethereal. And so the information it provides, while beneficial, it comes at a cost. And what is that cost? It comes at your mind. You don't think for yourself. You think about it. You think about what it can do for you. You think about what you can give over for it. And again, I'm guilty of this myself. The segue I'm trying to talk about is how they've given us all these individual minders, these individual toys that will be used for mass data collection and at the same time, cognitive bankruptcy, so that they can grab hold of the world in a completely different way. I hope I'm making sense. This goes beyond like brainwashing. This goes beyond social engineering, but it's one of the same. This is what I mean by perfectly programmable individual, perfectly programmable people. Just this past week, or the week before last, we saw protests in all 50 states, in over 1,800 cities. Every single one of those individuals thought they were having an individual thought. They believed as if they were doing something and having an individual thought, yet it was organized by a higher structure that we saw. George Soros, and it's an even higher structure. We are all being programmed on the individual level in multiple different ways using these AIs. But to what end, we don't know. And so now we're talking about Palantir. Now we're talking about data synthesis. Now we're talking about Project Stargate. Now we're talking about the technocracy. Because when they have all this information, they can begin to predict the future. And once they can predict the future, they can control the future. And that's what we're talking about. That's the end goal. That's what's happening. And we're just giving over our ability to affect the future to these little digital minders, to these little chatbots that are making us retarded. Meanwhile, in the background, we've got people like Elon Musk and various other companies building the corpus, building the body, building the robots that will house this otherwise alien intelligence. And I say that because I say that with the utmost intensity. Because what is something that absorbs all of humanity's intelligence? That would be considered alien, superhuman. We talked about this just the other week as well. Mark Zuckerberg assembling a team to talk about super intelligence. We're talking about general intelligence. If this is just basic AI without super intelligence and it's already making us retarded, what happens when we have something that we've abdicated our intelligence to that is ultimately, quote unquote, smarter than us? This is the beast Godhead that will control everything. Speaking of Meta tried to poach AI talent, OpenAI talent, with $100 million sign-on bonuses, Sam Altman said. So Sam Altman, OpenAI, these people, the chat GPTs that are being confirmed through studies, making people more and more retarded or cognitively bankrupt, are being offered $100 million, and they're saying no because they're cooking up something over there. They're cooking up something, and it's you. Think about what that data is doing. Think about where it goes. We're talking about Palantir now, Jeff Bezos, Amazon. This is what it looks like. Look at this. I want to read a little bit of this, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into Anthony Patch, Revising Reality, Quantum Pollution, and things of this nature. But hidden factions, conflicting narratives, and dark truths behind alleged non-human species on Earth. This is by Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times. It was written over there at Signs of the Times, June 2nd. I'm only going to read a little bit of this, but we'll jump into it. The premise is just that we're dealing with very, very complex forces. And when we're in a time frame such as this, the event horizon that you hear me discuss so frequently about, you're going to see some strange and terrifying things. There is no coincidence that right when you have Catherine Austin Fitts doing like interview tours talking about deep underground military bases and how Donald Trump's going to be the point guy to install the grid, Elon Musk comes out and exposes his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, and then we find ourselves at war. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Factions warring with one another, consolidation, double crossings, assassinations, what we saw just this past week, right? With Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman. Like this is the, as some people call it, the great noticing, the great awakening. This is it. This is them trying to establish this new world order, changing political divides. You see new things happening. I'm rambling and I'm ranting, but we understand what's happening. There is a non-human force governing all of this. And these people are taking their directions from someone. They're not taking their directions from the people anymore. They're programming people, manipulating society, infiltrating governments, hollowing out individuals' minds. This is a crazy time period to be alive. But let me go ahead and read this, and I'll play this clip of Anthony Patch, and we'll close out the show, or close out the segment from there. It says that it was a calm summer morning on the chalk downs of Avebury, England, where Silbury Hill, Stonehenge, and other ancient monuments still brood over the landscape. On the 6th of July in 2009, an off-duty Wiltshire police sergeant was driving west along the A4 past Silbury Hill, a 129-foot prehistoric chalk mound and UNESCO World Heritage Landmark, where three figures in white coveralls appeared in a field opposite. Thinking they were forensic officers, he braked hard, climbed out, and walked toward them. The trio were crouched over the barley beside the so-called, quote, Mayan crop circle, an imprint that case investigator Andy Russell told the Liberation Times was, quote, definitely man-made. Andy Russell recounts what happened next. According to the police sergeant, who has kept his identity secret to this day, they, three beings, seemed to be inspecting the crop. When he got to the edge of the field, he heard what he believed to be a sound not dissimilar to static electricity. This crackling noise seemed to be running through the field, and the crops were moving gently close to where the noise was moving. He felt the hair on his arms and his back on the back of his neck raise up. He shouted to the figures who at first ignored him, not glancing at him. When he tried to enter the field, they looked up and began running. He said, quote, they ran faster than any man I've ever seen. I'm no slouch, but they were moving so fast. I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, they were gone. I then got scared. The noise was still around, but I got an uneasy feeling and headed for the car. For the rest of the day, I had a pounding headache, and I couldn't shift. The story proved newsworthy, even enough that the Daily Telegraph, a UK broadsheet not known for indulging in tales, ran the story, giving the incident an unexpected stamp of mainstream credibility. Russell told Liberation Times that similar encounters with mysterious Nordic-looking figures has also been reported across Wiltshire, particularly in the countryside around Warminster. The witness's credibility was underscored by coverage in a mainstream broadsheet, even though no physical unidentified anomalous phenomena were reported in this particular incident. But encounters featuring tall Nordic-looking entities and a wider menagerie of reported advanced non-human species have been woven into the UAP narrative ever since the 1947 Roswell crash, where witnesses and insiders, speaking to Liberation Times, claimed that non-human bodies were recovered along with two downed craft. According to the National Defense Authorization Act for the fiscal year of 2023, UAP means a airborne object that are not immediately identifiable, transmedium objects or devices, or C, submerged objects or devices that are not immediately identifiable and display behavior or performances characteristics suggesting that the objects or devices may be related to objects or devices described in subparagraph A. Strange. It says that many UAPs will undoubtedly be eventually identified as balloons or mundane drones, but others seem to exceed known human capability. In fact, current CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who previously led the U.S. intelligence community as Director of National Intelligence, told Fox News in 2023 that UAPs represent, quote, objects that demonstrate technologies that seem to defy the laws of physics and capabilities that we do not have as the world's superpower. Our role in the federal government is to provide the common defense, and we can't do that if someone else has technologies that are better than what we have now. I think that's probably everything I need right there. You know, when we talk about hidden factions, conflicting narratives, it's a longer article. I could read a little bit more, but I think that's a good way for me to segue into Anthony Patch, quantum pollution, these people jacking with reality and the consequences of these things, right? You've heard me time and time again talk on the show about crypto terrestrials, entities that are probably advanced humans, people that have been able to survive these cataclysmic resets, whether they be man-made or cosmically induced, what have you. But there is a lot of evidence to support simply that theory alone, that we are dealing with just remnants of an advanced version of ourselves. I mean, that's what Hitler went and did when he went and looked into the Nazis, the Aryan race. I mean, he traveled you have to think, man, Hitler traveled to Tibet, went over there with those monks, grabbed about 200 of them, turned them into like SS officers. They came up with a whole plan to where they would go back to the Tibetan mountains to where they believed they could find an entrance into the inner earth and communicate with what they talked about, the White Brotherhood, the Aryan race, this advanced civilization of people who the Tibetan monks at that time already had relations with. Like this is mainstream history. This is stuff that people already know. So when you want to talk about hidden factions and conflicting narratives and dark truths behind alleged non-human species on Earth, what is that about? And now we see this beginning to resurface again, this kind of Nazi ideology, but it's like a darker version of the Nazi ideology. And it's so crazy because I can just find myself launching into like rants from Russ Disdar's The Black Awakening. But that's a completely different thing. We'll save that for the next segment. The point I'm trying to talk about is non-human species, interdimensional things coming through, messing with our reality, and us witnessing all of these things as we go about our lives. And then and you're seeing some of the effects of things coming through this universe or coming through into this reality, them jacking with this world. It's all there. You can see these things. But again, I'm ranting. What I'm trying to get across is we can see that there are there's good factions and there's bad factions. I mean, the show's called Factions of Freedom. That doesn't mean that there's not factions of enslavers, people that are out there on the dark side that want to try to control humanity. We talk about them every single week. But there's also good sides to this that are trying to help restore humanity and bring them into awareness. And there's other people that are pulled away. The point I'm trying to make is these people have signed up with the dark side. They are bringing through technologies that are not for our benefit. It's destroying the environment, eradicating humans' potential and individuality. And you can see this. It would be different if every single piece of technology elevated our consciousness and brought us to a completely different state of awareness, to where we became more and more empowered. But every single thing that they give us just disempowers us more, makes us that much more dependent, that much more connected to them, disconnected from the earth, disconnected from the true nature of reality, disconnected from the true nature of self, more connected to this false reality that they're programming us with. Now, let me go ahead and play this video clip of Anthony Patch. I won't lie to you, it's fairly long. We're going to jump in here at about an hour and I think 4 minutes. We're going to jump in here about an hour and 4 minutes. Again, this is in 2016, where he's talking about this type of stuff. Quantum pollution, revising reality, how these people have a whole program that mirrors and copies our world, and how they're jacking with our world. They're manipulating our world, and how right now we're nodes. They want the nexus point to where they can merge us with this machine and have true total dominance over base reality and the fake reality that they're creating. So let me go ahead and play this, and then we'll pick it up on the other side. Here's Anthony Patch, 2016 at the Hear the Watchman conference in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Capability. Now we're up to 8192 of qubits and infinite numbers of dimensions. And now processing power we can't even imagine. This is the beast system. Real time, running since 2007. Every one of us is represented in this simulation as a node. In this video with Gordy Rose, he talked about the crossing over, the nexus of parallel dimensions. Nodes. And we are each assigned an avatar. That's why the movie was named Avatar. Okay? So all these things connect. Real time, they can monitor us, know what we're doing, and predict, like future crime, predict what we will do. Because in machine learning, you have algorithms that are built based upon human behavior, modeling human behavior for the purpose of predicting what we will do. The machine predicts. If you can predict, you can control. Right? So pebble in the pond, butterfly effect. This is graduate level, right? You guys are still with me. Early benchmark for D-Wave. They said, we're going to test our theory of human behavior, the modeling of it. But we're going to do it with the stock market and the commodities market. And what they did was they modeled what was going on throughout the world. Environment, economics, civil and military strife, you name it. Elections, who's going to win? Okay? Is it controlled? Is it a foregone conclusion? Is it a rigged game? You guys answer that. So the benchmark that they achieved was they predicted commodity and stock exchange actions based on our behavior, those algorithms. And they proved that they could predict the market, and if they wanted to, they could financially benefit from it. That's part of what these computers can do. That was the first model. That's when they knew they had it. Okay? Since then, they've gone to the sentient world simulation. It runs it. It knows what we're doing. This is not paranoia. There's a reason why everything is wired and bugged and tapped into and monitored, because it's feeding the virtual world. All right, you guys have phones. Anybody have the Pokemon Go application? Nobody does it. Good. That is part of the psychological operation, which teaches the machine to predict human behavior through building those mathematical algorithms. Pokemon Go is to get people used to living in the virtual reality, in the augmented reality. Reality, as my third book, Revising Reality, is titled. They're revising reality by getting people comfortable with living in that digital world. I call this our analog, okay? There are reasons why they put these things out. And so they devise the application, and they go, what do you think is going to happen when we drop this into the matrix, the pebble in the pond? They know full well how we're going to respond to it. So how do you beat the game? Some of you guys know the answer from Friday. How do you beat a game? Somebody told me when I asked that question Friday, you got to know the rules. Valid statement. But beyond that, pulling back from it, looking at it objectively and analytically, you say, oh, it's a game. You realize it's a game. Yeah, Pokemon Go is a game. It's a psychological game. It's a psychological operation. They're playing us. We're being gamed. And me personally, when I realize that I'm being gamed, I get a little angry. Mandela effect, Gordy Rose video, D-Wave. Think what you will about that. I'm not going to defend it, except to perhaps explain it. Why was the physicist in the video from Nicholson 1968 holding two signs in his lap? One said Bond 1, the other one said Mandela. That picture's from 2013. And he's laughing, and he's smiling, and he holds up his little paper, and I think it says something like, we're having fun. It's a game. And these characters at CERN and D-Wave know that they're playing a game with us. So Bond 1, you saw early in that video, the original first novel of the Bond series, okay? Casino Royale, it's a game. Monte Carlo is where they played Casino Royale. In statistical analysis in the world of particle physics, there's a thing called the Monte Carlo random number association or prediction. They use it to predict the trajectories of particles that fly off from collisions in the LHC. They're using it to play the psychological game with us, to create the Mandela effect as a psyops, so the machine can learn from our reactions and responses. Who's looking at it, who's analyzing it, who's talking about it, who's communicating about it. That's all part of the algorithms of machine learning. That's why the Mandela effect is here. I'll give you the cause of it in a second. But they knew that they were going to do a Monte Carlo game at CERN, and they called it Bond 1 from the movie, from the book. And then they had the Mandela name right underneath it as the application. So, where does the Mandela effect originate from? Would you hazard a guess? D-Wave. Other dimensions. I call it quantum pollution. If they, as I said at the beginning, that they are inserting a combinatorial program into other dimensions and extracting 110% more energy than they put in, and Gordy Rose is talking about extracting, going in and grabbing resources from the other side, that means that there are things, energy, information, digital information, entering into our reality and revising it, polluting it. That's why you see these effects, because it's a game that they designed and they know full well what it's going to do, and they can predict how we're going to respond to it. You're being gamed. So am I. I'm a pawn in this little game of theirs, just like the rest of you here. Okay? I don't like being gamed. That's why I do this research. I want to know what they're doing. I don't know it all. I have a little slice of what I'm looking at, and I'm looking at it, through the dark glass, the glass darkly, as it says in Scripture. I don't see it clearly, but I put on a different set of glasses than most people. I use the Scripture. I use the Holy Spirit for the discernment. That's why last night when I was praying and I went to bed, he said, hey, guess what? You need to show them the 600 model, and you need to show them what it relates to the D wave and explain all the numbers. You didn't explain the numbers on Friday. Reboot. That wasn't the nefarious NSA doing that. That was God. Now, maybe they were the tool, but who cares? I don't. It's God's plan. He's in control. And then this morning, as I said, he said, no, they're daisy chained. They're linked. They're all quantum entangled. They're all working together. I mentioned it to Richie, and he goes, oh, yeah, put the phones together and see how well they get along. It's God's sense of humor. I walk in a constant conversation with him, like a lot of you do. You eventually get to that point in your relationship with him. It isn't that you're hearing God audibly, is it? But you know you're walking along, talking with him. And he relates to me through humor. I'm not a humorous guy, you can tell, okay? I'm pretty serious. So he throws British humor at me. Very dry, very witty, very fast, okay? But that's how he makes me laugh, because you have to be in balance with this stuff. If you're looking at it all the time and you're just going down these rabbit holes and you go, oh, I don't want to see this anymore. I'd rather just go buy a sailboat and go drift on down the river. Okay? But he wants me to do this. He commands me to do this. He commands all of us, because what are we supposed to be doing in our own areas of witnessing? We're commanded to save souls.
We'll be right back, right after this.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the world economic forum. We penetrate the cabinets.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset.
So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis. The young generation.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, They have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nations.
Jesus walk, Jesus walk, Jesus walk with me, with me,
To the hustlers, killers, murderers, drug dealers, even the strippers.
Jesus walks with them.
To the victims of welfare, for we living in hell here. Hell yeah.
Jesus walks with them.
Now hear me, wanna see thee more clearly. I know he hear me when my feet get weary, cause we're the almost nearly extinct. We rappers as role models, we rap, we don't think. I ain't here to argue about his facial features. We're here to turn atheists into believers. I'm just trying to say the way school need teachers, the way Catholic needed Regis. That's the way I need Jesus. So here go my single dog, radio nieces. They say you can rap about anything except for Jesus. That means guns, sex, lies, videotape. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played. Well, if this take away from my spins, which will probably take away from my ends, I know it take away from my sins. Bring the day that we dream about. Next time we on a plane, everybody's screaming out.
Jesus walk.
God, show me the way, cause the devil tried to break me down.
Jesus walk.
The only thing that I prayed is that my feet don't fail me now.
Jesus walk.
And I don't think it's nothing I can do now to right my wrongs.
Jesus walk.
I want to talk to God, I ain't afraid.